Choosing the area to build in was the most difficult decision I had to make in all my 30 years of business. With that, there were some situations that came up that I could have never predicted. People pay $1 million just to be closer to the river. Out of the 10 factors I considered when choosing an area to build in, here I've got the 3 main ones that helped me make this difficult decision. Trust me, they apply to everyone. They apply to every neighborhood in America. I have a story for you. In 2019, I moved from Ukraine to Austin. I had decided to start a construction business here and brought in investments. My partners and I planned to build 22 houses within the following 3 years in one of Austin's neighborhoods. Choosing the area to build in was the most difficult decision I had to make in all my 30 years of business. I chose Apache Shores. Maybe you're sitting in Chicago, New York, or somewhere else in the world, and you're wondering, why should I be looking at some neighborhood in Apache Shores? But believe me, with the analysis I did, the challenges I overcame, and the decisions I've made about investing in this neighborhood, everyone can get something useful out of this. Everything was revolving around the fact that in 2019, the market was at the starting point of this growth phase. Finding a good area where we could build multiple homes was nearly impossible. For example, looking at the central districts of Austin, the only option would have been to work with small lots that needed to have the existing house demolished before building a new one. Looking at a different option and going for a remote area with a good-sized chunk of land, something like an open field, it would have taken a lot of investment in infrastructure and other preparations to make it work, and then it still would have been quite far from central Austin. Another option would have been to look at an area that's already developed. There might have been opportunities to buy 1 or 2 lots, but not enough to keep them coming back to that same district to build multiple new, modern homes in the same area. In that situation, you could buy maybe 1 or 2 lots, and then that would be it. You wouldn't be able to grow. But here in Apache Shores, I saw at least 20 to 30 vacant lots where we could invest money and start our project. Looking back, I now understand that choosing an area where we could buy multiple lots and develop our business was one of the most important decisions we made. With that, there were some situations that came up that I could have never predicted. Out of the 10 factors I considered when choosing an area to build in, here I've got the 3 main ones that helped me make this difficult decision. The first factor is taxes and schools. When buying a house, the rating of the nearby schools is a major factor that needs to be taken into consideration, and I say this, of course, because we built these homes to be sold. The schools in the area have a rating somewhere between 7 and 8, but the taxes are still only at 1.4%, which is super low. Especially today, as property taxes have grown astronomically and home valuations have gone way up. That played a very key role and continues to play a very key role when people choose a home in this area. When I came to Austin and we started choosing the area to build our homes, I went with a realtor, Alexander, and he showed me different areas of Austin. I have an interesting story. He brought me to West Lake, the most expensive area in Austin, and told me, if you decide to live in this area with your kids, they're going to end up going to the same school as the kids of millionaires and other pretty wealthy people. Are you ready for that? When we started exploring other areas, he brought me here. After 3 years, my son goes to Hudson Elementary. Actually, he's now in middle school and he's transitioning to high school. I realized the charm of this area. There's a diverse mixture of people. It's kind of eclectic, a mixture where you can meet an entrepreneur developing their business. As an example, I met an entrepreneur who sells coffee, and they became our client. We built a house that they now rent out. There's IT specialists here, there's landscapers and people who work in construction. And this mixture of real people is the America that I imagined when I decided to move to America. When you live in a certain area, you're always going to be seeing your neighbors. The people you live next to may not be the most important thing, but it's very important nonetheless, for you are the clients who will be living in the home. Who will be next to you? What kind of people are they? What's their lifestyle? What are their values? Think about it. Another important factor is HOA. The situations with HOA are very special. I've been to several different neighborhoods and each one has its own restrictions. For example, in some neighborhoods you can design and build certain features, whereas in others you can't. Or maybe if you don't mow the grass regularly, they'll fine you. Maybe you have to regularly rake the leaves. These are called requirements and limitations. Sometimes you have to spend crazy amounts of money on HOA too. I've often seen it as high as $400 per quarter, which comes out to almost $1,600 per year. Those expenses fall on you. It's very possible they won't let you build a modern design, or maybe they won't let you build more than 2 stories. Or maybe they even tell you specifically what style you have to build, which is a problem if you have your own ideas in mind. Here in Apache Shores, there's minimal restrictions. On top of that, the cost is as low as $100 per year. Think about it, just $100 a year for your HOA fees. Another important factor in choosing a place to live, one that I didn't even think about with Apache Shores, but one I was nonetheless surprised by, is nature. Right now, we're on the shores of Lake Austin. During COVID, when people were deciding where to buy homes, an important factor was the nature of the surrounding area. The places where you can sit and have lunch, where you live, walk with your kids. Looking at these houses, now I understand why people pay $1 million just to be closer to the river. It's beautiful. Now I can see how lucky we got, how much of a win it was. When people come to this area, they see all this beauty. If I were to go back, I would absolutely make the same decision. I'd look for an area to build our homes that has a lot of nature, a place where there's trails, waterfalls, scenic rivers, parks, and animals. We have a lot of forests here, lots of foxes, coyotes, squirrels, and deer walking around. Living in a place that's surrounded by nature is another important factor. People pay $1 million to live on the river and enjoy this view, to use boats and watch their children play. This area has access to the river, and if you pay the HOA subscription fee, you can launch your boat into the river right from this park. You can also dock your boat at your property. There's no rules here that prohibit that. The third very important factor is, of course, getting the building permits. The neighborhood is located in Travis County. For Travis County, the process of obtaining a building permit is pretty straightforward. Even during COVID, when all procedures were in limbo and things were being changed, we were able to get our building permits in 4 to 5 months. Of course, there were difficulties. We had to persistently follow up with them about where it was at in the process, but overall, we got them pretty quickly. Today, you can get a building permit in, well, my record is 2.5 months. The standard is usually around 3.5 to 4 months, and you receive the entire package of building permits. It's quite cheap. You can do it yourself through the online system, and this is an important thing to think about when you're building a construction business or investing in building a home for yourself. Here, you can get through this process quick and easy. Now, think about it. Don't you think these factors are also important for your situations as you decide to build a dream house or a house to sell? Trust me, they apply to everyone. They apply to every neighborhood in America. What's the tax rates? What's the school's reputation? Are there any restrictions in this area or are there none at all? How difficult or long does it take to get building permits? And how much will it cost you? Well, I hope you liked my story about Apache Shores, which is still a living story. I hope that you picked up something useful from this video and you got a better idea of what's worth paying attention to when choosing an area to buy or build your dream home. Subscribe, ask questions, come to Apache Shores. I'll personally show you this unique, eclectic area.